Does size matter? Yes, but not in the way you're thinking. A lot of people are hung up on this, particularly men. And I have to wonder, who started this rumor that bigger is better? Personally, I think it was a man. Because, and obviously a man who doesn't understand women very well. I think it's kind of been started by men as a way to prove their masculinity or their strength or something to boost their ego. And I think this rumor spread amongst men, comparing themselves to other men and somehow thinking that because one man is bigger than the other, that this somehow makes him more of a man or a better lover or something like that. So let's set the record straight here, shall we? First of all, I want to show you a diagram of female anatomy so that we can learn something about female anatomy, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about this. Looking at this diagram, can you point out where the uterus is? Can you point out where the vagina is? Do you know what the cervix is? The cervix is the place where the vagina turns into the uterus. When a woman has a baby, that cervix has to open up or dilate. You've probably seen on TV and many television shows women breathing heavily, screaming perhaps, moaning, groaning, obviously in pain. What causes the pain is the cervix opening so that the baby can pass through and be born. This is what they're moaning and groaning and huffing and puffing about. That cervix is very sensitive. Again, the cervix is the door that opens so that the baby in the uterus or the womb, same thing, two different names mean the same thing. That's the door that opens so the baby can fall down into the birth canal and be born. So obviously that cervix is very sensitive. Again, that's at the deep end of the vagina. So, during sexual intercourse, if a man should hit that cervix, it is painful, very painful. I think one of the best things that Chet or John Doe ever said on set was, he said, any good man knows you don't bottom out on women, meaning you don't hit the cervix. So let's think about this logically. If you are well endowed, you are more likely to hit the cervix. Again, something very painful, and that most women do not enjoy. Most women are built the same. There are a few exceptions, and there are medicine wheels about the sexual teachings. And this is where we get into anatomy and how different men and different women are built. Most people are a combination of these different types. Of all these different types on the woman's wheel, there is only one type, the dancing woman, who prefers a larger man. The others do not. I've heard a lot of women say they refuse to work with Ron Jeremy. Now, there's a lot of reasons that you could come up with for not wanting to work with Ron Jeremy. But the most common reason that I heard in the business was that he's too large. This is exactly why women didn't want to work with John Holmes or other men who are well endowed unless they know how to use it, like John Doe, because you don't bottom out on women. Now, the only thing that being well endowed will do for you is allow you to bottom out on a woman. which they don't like, unless they are a pure dancing woman. She's a little larger, she can accommodate such things, and she enjoys that. She does not enjoy bottoming out. Let me clarify that. Again, the cervix is very sensitive. That's why when we go in for pap smears, we hate it. It's not fun, it's not pleasant. And any gynecologist that tells you it doesn't hurt, first of all, is a man, because they've obviously never gone through it. Or they're just plain out lying, because it does hurt. So that's a very sensitive area. Now, as long as we're talking about sensitivity and nerve endings and things like that, let's keep in mind that there are very few nerve endings in the birth canal. This is nature's design. This is what allows us to give birth without excruciating pain. Yes, there are a lot of nerve endings in the cervix, and that's what gives us the warning that, hey, you're in labor. You're going to have a baby soon. Get ready for it. Put yourself in a position where people can help you, where medical help is there if necessary for both you and your baby, because a big event is coming soon. And that's why we have the pain, to notify us. I have given birth totally naturally, without any pain medicine at all. And I can tell you the hardest part is opening that door, opening the cervix, so the baby can drop down into the birth canal. Once the baby's in the birth canal, there's a lot of pushing, but that really isn't nearly as painful as opening that cervix. So what does that tell you as a man, as a lover? That tells you, obviously, number one, don't bottom out on women, and number two, there's not a lot of nerve endings in the vagina. Where are all these special nerve endings then? Right there. This organ has far more nerve endings than a man's penis. This is why we say it is so important for you to know where this is and to focus on this. Now, you've probably heard about the G-spot and how important that is. Yeah, well, there's a lot of controversy about that. It was a man who discovered the G-spot. And ever since then, women have been trying to find it and trying to find how to use this to their advantage to enjoy sex more and, you know, to feel as good as men do when we're having intercourse. However, it just doesn't work for most women. There are exceptions, just like a dancing woman is an exception. The best way to please a woman is to focus on the clitoris. This is where all the nerve endings are, and that's the only function for this organ. It's the only organ for men or women that is specifically for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is pleasure. And only women have it. Men, your organ does double, triple duty. So this organ is extra special because it's only about pleasure. So I have seen some insane comments on social media about tampon usage causing orgasms. Let me tell you right now, that's physically impossible. It just doesn't happen because there's very few nerve endings in the birth canal. Now, if you think I'm speaking very strangely and not plainly, there's a reason for that. It's called censorship, and YouTube will censor me, and I'm probably going to have to bleep out or silence a lot of the things that I've already said to get it past the censors. But I'm trying to educate you. I'm trying to give you the facts of life, basically, on how babies are born and how babies are made. And if you want your partner to enjoy what you're doing, you don't need to have the biggest organ in the world. As a matter of fact, we'd prefer if you didn't. I have heard many women say that they would not work with this actor, that actor, another actor, because they're too big. And that's why Chet, that's his real name, or John Doe, was, rest in peace, bless his heart, said, you don't bottom out on women. Now, if you aren't extra large, then there's no reason to worry about bottoming out. But if you are extra well endowed, then you have a burden. You have to be careful, because if you're trying to please your woman, showing her the full length of your abilities is not a good idea. She's probably not going to like it, unless she's a dancing woman. All of these women on these medicine wheels and all the men on these medicine wheels have particular ways they are built. And that shows you how they prefer to enjoy sexual relations. Obviously, I cannot go into that here. But if you are interested, I do have a Patreon page, and I can go further into depth on the sexual teachings there. So, does size matter? Yes, but not in the way you're thinking. We don't want them too big. That's painful, especially if they don't know how to use it. And how do we know if they know how to use it? We don't until we get right there in the middle of the act. And if they don't know how to use it, well, that's not going to be very pleasant at all. So, rather than take our chances, we'd rather stick with the average normal guy, thank you very much, because there's very little chance of them hitting the back door or bottoming out, okay? So don't get all hung up about your size, thinking that it's not enough or that you won't be good enough, because that simply isn't true. It's not how long your oar is, it's how you row the boat. It's the motion in your ocean. It ain't the meat, it's the motion, okay? So don't get hung up about something that a man probably made up to begin with, because he was probably well endowed and wanted all the other men to feel insecure. That's just my guess. But I can tell you for sure, unless it was a dancing woman, there's no woman who has ever said bigger is better, because it's just not. It's worse, actually. Thank you very much for watching.